Please repeat. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet nashta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki krishnaya vasudevaya devaki nandanaya cha nanda gopa kumaraya govindaya namo namah. Hare Krishna. Welcome you all to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam study. So we've been discussing first canto, and last week what was the name of the chapter?
Punishment and reward Kali.
Good, thank you for yes. Punishment and reward for Kali. Yeah. So Parīkṣit Mahārāja, he punished Kali, and at the same time he rewarded Kali. Punishment was to to protect the kingdom. To what did you say, Prabhu?
Get him out of the kingdom.
Get him out of the kingdom. And Prabhu, what did you say?
Banish him out of the kingdom.
Banish him out of the kingdom. Yeah, yeah. So he was punished, thrown out of the kingdom, but he was given 4 places where he can stay. And at that time, Parīkṣit Maharaj thought, or those places did not exist at that time. So he said he won't have anywhere to live. And then Kali asked for one more place, and he was given one more place. What was that place? Gold. That doesn't mean the ornaments that Matajis are wearing. But yeah, it was more of where the mode of passion is most prominent. That's where the Kali will come. Yeah. And so punishment, this is punishment and this is also reward. And the question was, why didn't he kill him? Yeah, he didn't kill him because? Yes, Mataji, good. Because he surrendered. And Bhagavan Krishna, he told Arjun, the principal, when he arrested Ashwathama, Lord Krishna told him that you punish him. But at the same time, he told him the principal also. Remember that first time? Yeah. Lord Krishna was telling Arjun, you promised Draupadi that you will bring his head. Now, fulfill your promise. But at the same time, Krishna told him that Prapannam, Unmattam, Mattam, Balam, Istriyam, Bhitam, Jadam, yeah, and then Viratham and Suptam. But because he was one of them, he was Prapannam, he had surrendered. And he was Bhitam, he was also scared. When Parīkṣit Maharaj took his sword, Kali got scared because he was ready to kill him. But then he surrendered. As he surrendered, then Parīkṣit Maharaj said, okay. So he gave him those few places. Good. So today's chapter is you see, okay, good. So Maharaj Parīkṣit cursed by a Brāhmaṇa boy. Let me share my screen too. So this is very interesting now. Parīkṣit Maharaj gave Kali few places to stay, and then he himself got cursed because of someone else's anger. Yeah, so we'll look at that. So we'll discuss this verse first, verse number 48. Yeah. So chapter is called Parīkṣit Maharaj cursed by the son of Brāhmaṇa. Yeah. So what had happened was Parīkṣit Maharaj had gone to the forest for hunting, And then he went into an ashram of Rishi. We will discuss that, but just so you understand this verse. So when he was cursed by the Brahmana son, Brahman's name was Shamik Rishi. So Shamik Rishi felt bad for his son. He did not congratulate him. And then this verse is spoken by Shamik Rishi. And what he's saying in this verse, we will hear. Okay, please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Tiraskrita Vipralabdha.
Tiraskrita Vipralabdha.
Tiraskrita Vipralabdha.
Tiraskrita Vipralabdha.
Shapta Shipta Hata Api.
Shakta Shikta Hata Api.
Shapta Shikta Hata Api.
Shakta Shikta Hata Api.
Na asya tat pratikurvanti.
Nasasya tat pratikurvanti.
Na asya tat pratikurvanti.
Nasasya tat pratikurvanti.
Tad bhakta prabhavopihi.
Tadbhakta bhavopihi.
Tad bhakta prabhavopihi.
Tadbhakta bhavopihi.
Word by word translation. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Please repeat. Tiraskrita,
Tiraskrita.
being defamed.
Being defamed.
Vipralabdha,
Vipralabdha.
being cheated.
Being cheated.
Shapta,
Shakta.
being cursed.
Being cursed.
You know, as they say, shap. So Shapta. Shipta,
Shikta.
disturbed by negligence.
Disturbed by negligence.
Hata,
Hata.
or even being killed.
Or even being killed.
Api,
Api.
also.
Also.
Na,
Na.
never.
Never.
Asya,
Asya.
for all these acts.
For all these acts.
Tat,
Tat.
then.
Then.
Pratikurvanti,
Pratikurvanti.
counteract.
Counteract.
Tat,
Tat.
the Lord's.
The Lord's.
Bhakta,
Bhakta.
devotees.
Devotees.
Prabhava,
Prabhava.
powerful.
Powerful.
Api,
Api.
although.
Although.
He,
He.
certainly.
Certainly.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Please repeat. The devotees of the Lord
The devotees of the Lord
are so
are so
forbearing
forbearing
that even
that even
though they are defamed,
though they are defamed,
cheated,
cheated,
cursed,
cursed,
disturbed,
disturbed,
neglected,
neglected,
or even killed,
or even killed,
they are never inclined
they are never inclined
to avenge themselves.
to avenge themselves.
So very important, one point I want to highlight here is, Srila Prabhupada used to say that as a devotee of the Lord, we don't take any offense personally. But if somebody is making an offense to someone else as in to the Lord or to the devotees of the Lord, then we take an offense. Srila Prabhupada highlights how Hanumanji, he got angry. He got angry on whom? Ravan. Because Ravan had offended Mother Sita. So he used his energy. Similarly, like Arjun fought the battle for dharma. So when somebody, they don't take any personal offense, but if anyone else is hurt, then they take it very seriously. Yeah. Okay, we'll discuss further. So maybe I think we should recite the verse. If one person wants to lead the verse, everyone else will recite.
Triskarta vipralabdha
Tiraskrita vipralabdha
Shapta shipta hata api
Shapta shikta hata api
Asya tat pratikurvanti
Na asya tat pratikurvanti
Bhakta prabhavopihi
Tad bhakta prabhavopihi. Yeah, so you all get the meaning of the words. Yeah? The devotees of the Lord, even though they are strong, but they never incline to avenge themselves. They are strong, they are insulted, they are even to the extent they are killed, but they never take any revenge. They accept everything, that there is hand of God in that. Yeah. That's what we will see. This is very important. So far we have discussed Parīkṣit Mahārāja's birth, his kingdom, but now we are coming to a point. Yeah? Very important. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki, please hear. Rishi Shamik also knew that the Lord does not forgive a person who has committed an offense at the feet of a devotee. The Lord can only give direction to take shelter of the devotee. He thought within himself that if Mahārāja Parīkṣit would counter curse the boy, he might be saved. But he knew also that a pure devotee is callous about worldly advantages or reverses. As such, the devotees are never inclined to counteract personal defamation, curses, negligence, etc. As far as such things are concerned, in personal affairs, the devotees do not care for them. But in the case of their being performed against the Lord and his devotees, then the devotees take very strong action. It was a personal affair, and therefore Shamik Rishi knew that the king would not take counteraction. Thus, there was no alternative plan to place an appeal to the Lord for the immature boy. It is not that only the Brāhmanas are powerful enough to award curses or blessings upon the subordinates. The devotee of the Lord, even though he may not be a Brāhmana, is more powerful than a Brahman. But a powerful devotee never misuses the power for personal benefit. Whatever power the devotee may have is always utilized in service towards the Lord and his devotees only. Srila Bhaktivedanta purports ki. Now let's do Mangalacharan and then we will discuss further. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamlam Shri Gurum Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Savadhetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Shri Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhadevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhute Mahadbhiryayima Puro Vibho Nirmaya Shete Yadamosha Purusha Bhumte Gunansho Dashasho Dashatmakam Solanka Sreshta Bhagavan Vachamsi Me Krishna Sharanam Sharanaagatam Katha Amritam Satat Pibatam Bhakti Vedanta Marga Pantanam Sarvaloka Rishi Deva Janma Prasannam Sarvaloka Rishi Deva Janma Prasannam. Hare Krishna Prabhuji Mataji, please bless me that may the right words come at the right time and that I'm able to glorify Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj and serve the Guru Parampara. Hare Krishna. So as you can see, the last session we discussed that Parīkṣit Maharaj, he punished and he rewarded also Kali, and Kali personified, he was beating the cow and the goat. So he was given 5 places to stay. And in today's chapter, we'll discuss Parīkṣit Maharaj. He was cursed. Yeah. Here you can see Parīkṣit Maharaj, he's putting a dead snake on the neck of Shamik Rishi, who is performing his sadhana, and we will discuss. Yeah. So, up to the last chapter, after explaining the rule of Maharaj Parīkṣit, Suta Goswami now explains the events leading to his renouncing of the kingdom. Yeah. In the 4th chapter, there were a series of questions asked by Shaunakadi Rishi. And one of the questions that they had asked is that why did Parīkṣit Maharaj, why did he leave that kingdom? Why did he renounce the kingdom? And then why did he leave his body? Yeah. Why did he leave his body on the bank of Ganges? And then Suta Goswami told them that I will tell you now, Parīkṣito ath Raja Rishe Janma Karma Vilapanam Sanstham cha Pandu Putrana Vakshaye Krishna Kathodayam. I will tell you the liberation, Janma Karma and liberation of Parīkṣit Maharaj. Yeah. And also the retirement of Pandavas, because it gives rise to Krishna Katha. And then he explained up to last chapter the rule of Parīkṣit Maharaj. And now in this chapter, as he starts speaking, so he starts speaking about Maharaj Parīkṣit's. Now he has spoken about the birth. Now he starts explaining to Shaunakadi Rishi. In the first verse itself, he says that Parīkṣit Maharaj, when he was in the womb of his mother, he was burnt by the Brahmastra released by Ashwathama. He was burnt, but even then he did not die. And that Supreme Lord Krishna, Adbhut Karmana, who performs wonderful activities, he saved him, he protected him. And then he says, in the 2nd verse, he says, when the time came, when the Takshak snake bird came to bite him or to bite him, to kill him, even then he wasn't bewildered, he wasn't scared. He wasn't scared, and he wasn't scared because he had taken Bhagavati Ashaya. Yeah. He had taken shelter. His consciousness was completely absorbed into Krishna. So he wasn't scared at all when the Takshak bird came to kill him. And then he further goes on to say, instead, what did he do? He said, Parīkṣit Maharaj, he went and took shelter. Yeah. He took shelter at the feet of Shukdev Goswami. Vignata Ajit Samsthiti. Why did he took a shelter? To understand the position of Bhagwan Ajit. So he is referring Bhagwan as Ajit here. You could have said Krishna, you could have said Janardhan, but he's saying Ajit is who can never be defeated. So he went and took shelter at the feet of Shukdev Goswami. Vaiyasakir Jaho Shishyo. Yeah. Vaiyasakir Jaho Shishyo Gangayam Swam Kaleva. To leave his body on the bank of Ganges, he took shelter. He took shelter at the feet of Shukdev Goswami. He accepted to become the disciple of Shukdev Goswami. Right? And when he said that, he wasn't bewildered, he wasn't scared at all. Then Shaunaka Rishi said that why is it? Why is it that he wasn't scared at all? And then Shukdev Goswami answers that question. He says, very important verse, this one. He says, Na uttama shloka vartana. Yeah. Na uttama shloka vartanam jushtam tad katha amritam. People who are engaged in the topic of discussion, Varta, who are conversing about the Supreme Lord, Uttam Shlok. Lord Krishna is called Uttam Shlok. Why? Because he is always described by the choicest of poetry, by the best of the words. So he is called Uttam Shlok. So people who are engaged in discussing the pastimes of Supreme Lord Krishna, Vartana, Jushtam. Jushtam is who are making every endeavor, to listen to the Harikatha. You know, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there is this Bhakti Sutra given by Rupa Goswami. Very important verse. So what did he say? Anya avilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulena krishnanu shilanam bhakti uttama. If you want to know the definition of bhakti, what is the uttam bhakti? This is the uttam bhakti. This is the sutra given by Rupa Goswami. Anukulena Krishna. Yeah. For example, now if you had to come to the program, right? You adjusted all your routine, all your activities to come to the program. As simple as that. अनुकूल, आपने अपना रूटीन को उसके हिसाब से एडजस्ट कर लिया. आपको काम पे जाना होता है तो आप सुबह 7 बजे आपको काम पे जाना है तो आप रात को सोने से पहले प्लान करते हो. You even cook your dinner or cook your lunch, breakfast, whatever. Make everything ready for the children. This is what is called anukulane. You align your activities to that. Yeah. And then anya abhilashita shunya. There is no other desire. There is no other desire to please anyone else but Supreme Lord Krishna. I tell you this nice pastime. When Bharat Maharaj came back, जब भरत जी वापस आते हैं अयोध्या में, भरत जी वापस आए तो भगवान राम तो वन में चले गए थे. Is anyone? I'm just checking if I'm speaking in Hindi. Recording is in English. No, there is Mataji. If he can, she can understand. तो जब भरत जी वापस आ जाते हैं, भरत जी comes back and oh, okay. Thank you. Yes. When Bharat comes back, then Vasishti tells him that you become the king. And then Bharat ji, he refuses. He says, no, I can't accept to become the king. And he was so sad. Because he was very sad, and after they performed the last rites of Dashrath Maharaj, then Bharat ji was walking back. Bharat and Shatrughan, they were walking back into the palace. As they were walking back, Manthara came from the front, right? And Manthara came and Manthara starts speaking to Bharat Maharaj. And she says, Ayodhya ke Raja ka bahut bahut swagat hai. Welcome the king of Ayodhya. Bharat Maharaj ki jai ho. Bharat Maharaj ki jai ho. And she says, I don't belong to Ayodhya. Even though Lord Ram has gone to the forest, Dashrath Maharaj has passed away. His last rites were performed. But then Manthara said, I belong to Kaikeyi Desh. You know, she came with Mother Kaikeyi. She said, I belong to Kaikeyi Desh. I don't belong to this. And we want to celebrate Bharat Maharaj becoming the king. Bharat Maharaj ki jai ho, Bharat Maharaj ki jai ho. And then she prepares to do the tilak ceremony. She's holding that plate and with kumkum tilak on her hand. And she's preparing. Bharat ji is walking. As Bharat ji walking towards her, she's preparing for that. As she's preparing for that, Bharat comes close. Bharat comes close, she tries to pull tilak and Bharat just quietly pushes her aside and Bharat just walks away. As Bharat walks away, Shatrughan now get hold of Manthara. And he starts beating. as about to give her a heavy hand, she could not call anyone. क्योंकि दशरथ महाराज नहीं, भगवान राम वन में चले गए. Who else to call for? Then she calls for Bharat, मुझे बचाओ. Bharat, please save me. Bharat turns back and Bharat looks at Shatrughan. And Bharat tells Shatrughan, leave her aside. And then Bharat starts speaking to Shatrughan. He tells him that from today, I will not be with you all the time. I will not be there to give you instruction every time. From now on, you will have to make your own decisions in life. Whatever things you have to do, you have to make your own decisions. Let me give you one sutra today. So before you do anything, you should think about it, right? And be mindful. I will never be with you all the time. You have to live your own life. You have to make your own decisions. And then Shatrughan says, then what is it, my brother? He says, just think, what will Raghunath think of this? What will Lord Ram think of your action? Will he be pleased? And then Shatrughan straight away release mantra. And he pays his dandvat to mantra. And he asks forgiveness from mantra. Please forgive me. This is called Anukul in Krishna. Will Krishna be pleased? So that's the formula, right? Whatever action we are doing, we think about it. So that is the bhakti, right? So this is how devotees think. So that's what Rupa Goswami ji is telling us, that Anukulanena Krishnanu Shilanam Bhakti Uttama. This is the Uttam Bhakti. So that's what we say. That's what here Rupa Goswami is telling. Shaun Kadirishi na Uttama Shloka Vartana. Yeah, Jushitam Tat Katha Amritam, who are always hankering for that Katha Amrit. They are always desiring, please give us more, please give us more. And then he says, Syat Sambrahmo Ant Kalepi. Syat Sambrahmo Ant Kalepi Smratam Tat Padam Bhujam. Even at the end, even at the time of leaving the body, they will not be bewildered. Na syat sambrahmo ant kalepi. Because Prabhuji Mataji, it's very difficult when the prana are leaving the body. It's very difficult. There is a very nice book I read many years ago, and written by Srila Prabhupada. He has described how inside the body the blood starts turning into mucus before the life air, or before the soul is about to leave the body. The blood starts turning into mucus. It becomes hard to breathe. If you are close to somebody who is about to leave the body, you can feel when they're breathing in and out, it is heavy breathing. You can feel the cough. It's very difficult. That is why Kulshekar Maharaj, when he is praying, this is also another nice for Srila Prabhupada used to sing it. Please repeat if you can repeat. Krishna Tvadiya Pada Pankaj Panjarantam. Krishna Tvadiya Pankaj Panjarantam. Adev me Vishato Manas Rajhamsa. Adev me Vishato Manas Rajhamsa. Pranapayan Samaye Kafvat Pittaye. Pranapayan Samaye Kafvat Pittaye. Kantavarodhana Smaranam Kutastaye. Kantavarodhana Smaranam Kutastaye. So Kulshekar Maharaj is saying, oh my dear Lord Krishna, Krishna Tvadiya Pad Pankaj Panjaranta. Oh Krishna, in the cage of your lotus feet, may the bird of my Manas Rajhansa, may the bird, mera jo hans hai, my, we call it bird, may it get entangled into the lotus cage of your feet, of your lotus feet, right? Adev, right now, right now may it get entangled into the cage of your lotus feet. Because prana payana samye, when the life air is leaving my body, kaf vat pitta, bile air and mucus, kantha avarodhan, that will choke my throat. Smaranam kutasti, how will I be able to take it? So may it happen today itself. So that is the whole point. We don't wait for the last time. That is why Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, Samarthya thakite kai, harina bhajilo hai. Yeah? Samarthya thakite kai. When there is strength in the body, I haven't worshipped the Supreme Lord. Then at the time of leaving the body, how will I swim? I cannot. So that practice has to be done now. We have to make it svabhava. We has to become our second nature. Come what may, the Krishna is always on our tongue. His name is dancing. The moment you say Krishna, you should be able to, like I said earlier also, when we are chanting, practice. Practice whoever is your favorite, Vigraha. Just visualize them. If Laddu Gopal is your favorite, focus on Laddu Gopal. Only then he will come at the time of death, or you will be able to remember otherwise. So Parīkṣit Mahārāja, Sud Goswami is saying that he was so exalted, that he was able to remember the Supreme Lord at the time because he was Bhagavati Ashaya. His consciousness was fully absorbed into the thoughts of Shri Krishna. Yeah? So he could. So it applies to us also. Na uttama shloka vartana jushutam Krishna kathamrita. Yeah. Sambhrama syat sambhramo antakalepi smaratam charana ambuja. At the end time also, you will be able to remember the lotus feet. Remember we discussed how Bhishma Pitama, when he was leaving the body, he was telling, my dear Lord, you please stay here. So he was looking at his Vigraha. In his heart, he was thinking about him. And from his tongue, he was glorifying him. So that is how devotees leave the body. So that's what we aim for. That is what we try for. Right? So Parīkṣit Mahārāja was able to leave his body like this. Now when Shukdev Goswami, Sud Goswami spoke like this, so Shaunakadi Rishi then asked more questions. They said, oh, then what happened to the Kali? Did Kali not affect him? And then Sud Goswami says, even though Kali had the bad qualities, but Parīkṣit Mahārāja wasn't envious or jealous of him. Now this is another important thing. So he said he had already made arrangement for Kali to stay at certain places. He knew that Kali was going to come. It was inevitable. Kali, I mean, it is, if you think tomorrow I'm going to destroy all the liquor places, all those places, it doesn't work like that. You cannot do that. So that's the approach Parīkṣit Mahārāja took. He wasn't feeling envious of him. And because he was self-controlled, because he wasn't going to go to any of those 4 places or 5 places, so he was unaffected. The trouble comes when you don't have control on those things yourself and you try to kill someone else. You get the point? You don't have self-control, but we try to say, close this, close this, close this. I mean, as a king, as a ruler, they have their own responsibilities. Right? That's another thing. Sometimes we get into the discussion, Prabhuji, this thing is rising, this thing is rising. We can't do much about it. We can simply chant, Supreme Lord's names. If Krishna is to use us in that service, he will put us in that position. We're not in that position, then why are we wasting time? We sit here and we talk of American politics. We sit here, we talk of Indian politics. What is the point? Waste of time. That is all Gramya Katha. We should not, If we are in that position, now you are in the position, you have the opportunity to make most of it by chanting the holy names, by spreading the holy names of Krishna. That is the position you are in. But if you leave your ashram and try to do something else, you will be failed. You won't be able to do justice to any of them. This is your best position. Just chant the holy names, spread the holy names, right? Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Koro Krishna Shiksha. That's what Nityananda Prabhu told. So we just have to do that. That is our duty. So Parīkṣit Mahārāja, Sud Goswami says he wasn't envious of Kali, so he wasn't affected. And he knew that the intelligent people are protected. And while he was here, he took care of the people who did not have good fund of knowledge, who had poor intelligence. So for them, he took care of them, and for others, he wasn't concerned about it. So this is how he lived his life, and then he left his body. Now, as Sut Goswami said this, now Shaunakadi Rishi, they started wondering, and they started asking more questions from Sut Goswami. And they're saying, what you have just told us, this is like Amrit. Martyanam Amritam. Amritam hi naha. For us who are Martyanam, who are subjected to death, who are going to go through this birth, death. You know, death means you are going back into those cycle of birth, death. So they were calling themselves Martyana, even though they were so exalted. So they said, for us, you have told us a great, this great Krishna's pastime. And they admit themselves that we were performing these yagnas, right? So there were 88,000 rishis headed by Shaunak Rishi, 88,000. And they were performing 1,000 Satra Yagna, that is 1,000 days. For 1,000 days they will perform, which is more than 3 years. 1,000 days, every day they will perform Yagna. And nowadays rishis, they agreed, and they tell Sut Goswami that by narrating this pastime, you have done a great favor to us. And he's saying, Dhumra Atmanam. He says, by performing this yagna, dhuma, the smoke was coming out. And because of that smoke, Dhumra Atmanam, our own bodies became, covered in the smoke, right? And we could not see any end. We were not seeing, we were just performing yagna every day, but we did not see any good signs. You can feel from inside. So these rishis, they admitted that. And then they started glorifying Sut Goswami. They say, what you have spoken is so great. And they say, please tell us more. Please tell us more nectar about this. And then Sut Goswami, now, before he starts speaking, now Sut Goswami, eagerness of sages to Krishna Katha. Right? So this is the second point we are covering. Now the sages of Naimisharanya, they are eager to hear more about Krishna. They're saying, please tell us more. Please tell us more about Krishna. Yeah. And what you have spoken is like Amrit, is like nectar for us. And we were trying to perform this, right? And then Sut Goswami expresses humility and he starts glorifying Krishna. Now Sut Goswami, before he starts speaking, he recognizes that he himself
just remove this one. The low system is what?
Sorry. No? Okay, good. Okay, so Sut Goswami now expresses humility and glorifies Krishna. Now, very important, Sut Goswami, there are two Sut. What are their names?
Brāhmaṇa and Ugrasrava.
Ugrasrava. And what is their relation?
Father and son.
Who is father, who is son?
Brāhmaṇa is father.
Brāhmaṇa is father and Ugrasrava is his son. Yeah. So now Ugrasrava. So this katha is spoken by Ugrasrava Sut, not Brāhmaṇa Sut. Now Sut Goswami, Ugrasrava Sut, he starts speaking. And he says, I belong to Vilom Jata. He says, such is a great fortune of people who are follower of Vaishnavas, who just follow in their footsteps or who hears from them. And even greater fortune he's saying that I got uplifted from the lower caste just by following in the footsteps or just by taking instructions of a senior Vaishnava. Who was he that he took instructions from? Who did he take instructions from? Ugrasrava.
He took instruction from Vyasadeva.
From Vyasadeva. Yeah. So he says, such is the great fortune of people just following the instructions, just following the footsteps. And by the way, he's called Sut. Sut Jati is lower caste. So the mother belongs to Brahman caste and father belongs to Kshatriya caste. So that's why they are called, so the children born are called Sut. And their main profession is, they are the charioteers. They take care of the horses. That is their main profession. Yeah. So here Sut Goswami, he shows humility And he himself admits that such is the great fortune that we are given this opportunity to glorify Supreme Lord Krishna. And he says, just by following the instructions or just by following the instructions itself, we are uplifted from our low caste. And then the next he says, even conversing with them, conversing with the Vaishnavas, our lower birth gets purified. All the impurities in our birth gets purified. What to speak of that, right? So what had happened was, now the background behind this, why Sut Goswami is speaking like this. So when Mahabharata was war about to start, so Lord Balaram, he decided not to take part in the war. He decided not to take part in the war. Few reasons. One is because Lord Krishna had well, actually, first they say Lord Krishna was worried that if I decide to fight, then Balaram will also fight. Because Balaram had a special affection for Duryodhana. He'll be worried about his disciple, that Duryodhana should be protected. So Lord Krishna decided that I'm not going to fight. I'm only going to give advice to Pandavas, but I will not fight. Now Balaramji thought, okay, Krishna is not going to fight, so Duryodhana is protected. And then moreover he thought, because our sister Subhadra is married to Arjun, so if I fight from the Kaurava side, then I might have to hit Arjun. So he said, okay, so let's be careful. So Balaramji decided not to fight. Balaramji decided not to fight, and Krishna only took an advisory role. Now Balaramji also thought that, let me also not stay in Dwarka. What if something happens and I get involved, then there will be more trouble. You know, Balaramji, when Lord Krishna went with the Shanti Dut, when he took that proposal that gave us the 5 villages, at that time all the Pandavas were sitting. Balaramji was there, Lord Krishna was there, and other seniors from Dwarka had come. And in that, the proposal was made that Balaram was the elder and senior person. So everybody was saying, Krishna, you go. Now Krishna said, no, thou, you go. You should go and take this proposal. Balaram said, no. Krishna, you go. You are very good at talking. Because if I go and they say no to me, I'm going to kill all of them. So I better not go. You go. You are very intelligent. You can talk nicely. So Balaram said, let me also leave Dwarka. Now the war is about to start. He left Dwarka and he went on a pilgrimage. Then he comes to this place called Naimisharanya. Now in Naimisharanya, originally what had happened was, these 88,000 rishis, they had assembled and they were performing yagna ceremony every day. And in that, they were only spending like 2 hours. But the condition is, now whoever is participating in that yagna ceremony, they cannot leave that place until the 1,000 days are complete. Number 2, they cannot get engaged into any other activity. So they just have to be there whole day. Now, as the rishis were there, then they suddenly thought, why don't we use our time and we hear some Krishna Katha? We hear about Puranas. So that's when then they requested Vyasdevji that can you please arrange for us to hear Purana Katha from Romharshan. So then Vyasdevji was very pleased. But then Shaunak Rishi asked Vyasdevji, well, he belongs to a lower caste. Will he be qualified to sit on Vyasasana and speak? And Vyasdevji said, no, he will be qualified. Right? Because this is not the caste. This is not the jat. This is about the knowledge. You know how it is said? Janmana jayate shudra. Yeah? Janmana jayate shudra sanskarat dvij uchyate. Ved pathat bhavet vipra. Brahma janati brahman. Janmana jayate shudra. By birth, everyone is shudra. But when you take Harinam initiation, sanskarat dvij uchyate. Dvij means twice born. Dvij, ja is birth and dvi is 2. So this is your second birth. When you take Harinam initiation, this is your second birth. But the first birth is, because in Kali Yuga, nobody is following the sanskar. You know, was there a Garbdan sanskar about us when we were conceived? We don't even know. There are 16 sanskar ceremonies in lifetime, from Garbdan to Antim sanskar. But we don't know. So we are all Shudras. Janmana jayate Shudra. Right? Sanskarat dvij uchyate. Then you become dvij. Uchyate. You are called dvij. Whether you are performing activities of the Dvij, that is up to you. And the Veda Pathat Bhaved Vipra. If you study the Vedas, then you are called Vipra. You have the knowledge. And when you know Brahma, when you understand the Supreme Lord, then you are called Brahma. So Vyasadevji said, no, he is qualified. He can sit on the Vyasasana and he can speak Krishna Katha. He can talk to you about the Purans. Otherwise, for Sut Jati, and also there was another change happened at that time. Like I said, they were all engaged in the charioteering activities, taking care of the chariots, taking care of the horses. But then, as you can imagine, when they have children, then there is not enough jobs for them. You can't have so many chariots in the town. Then they have to do something else. So it is said in Padma Purana that then they were allowed, by king allowed them to perform, to actually study the Purans, not the Vedas. So they were allowed to do that. They were allowed to hear the Shrutis, Puran. They were here, and Purans. So they were given that, right? Or glorification of Supreme Lord. When Lord Ram, when the marriage ceremony was about to happen, you might seen when the bow was put and all the kings were coming, then the first people who came, they were Sut Magad. Sut came and they sang the glories of the king. So that was also additional job given to them. So they came and they sang glories of Janak Maharaj, they sang glories of Sita Devi, they sang glories of the bow, etc. And that's how they got engaged. But now Vyasadevji approved that he can sit on Vyasasana and he can speak the glories of the Supreme Lord. And this is how they started hearing the Purans. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is spoken by Sut Goswami, but other Purans, if you see, Rom Harshan Sut is speaking. So some of the Puranas are spoken by Rom Harshan, some of the Puranas are spoken by Ugra Shrava Sut, who is his son. Now Rom Harshan Sut, he was sitting on the Vyasasana, he started speaking. Balramji walks into the assembly. As Balramji walks into the assembly, all the Rishi Muni, they stood up and they paid their obeisances to Balramji. As they paid their obeisances to Balramji, for a moment the Katha stopped. But Rom Harshan Sut, he did not stand up. And Balramji got infuriated. First of all, Balramji said he is a lower caste. Why is he sitting on the Vyasasana? He thought maybe he's sitting on himself. Well, this is Bhagavan Leela. What do you think? Balramji won't know why he's sitting there. This is a pastime. Yeah? But then Balramji got angry. And Balramji said, you are so much disrespectful. Balramji picked up a blade of grass and he put mantra and then he threw on Rom Harshan. And Rom Harshan Sut died. Balramji killed him. He died. As he died, now it was become like a body, a Manushya Vad in the Yagna ceremony. It became very inauspicious. Now Shaunak Rishi, then when he went to Balramji, he said, what have you done? You have committed a great sin. You should have asked us first that why is he sitting there? Balramji said, look, he did not stand up. And I thought he is a lower caste. Why is he sitting there and speaking? Maybe he got up himself and sat there and started speaking. Balramji is thinking like this. And then Shaunakji said, no, you have committed a great sin. You should ask forgiveness. And then Balramji said, okay, what to do? And then Shaunakadi Rishi said, this Puran, because at that time it was only Shruti. They said, we cannot stop because at that time Rom Harshan was the only person. If we discuss in the initial chapters, when Vyasadevji wrote 4 branches of Veda, he appointed 4 disciples. For Puran, he appointed Rom Harshan Sut. Now, if he is killed, who is going to carry forward? Because it was all Shruti, through hearing. So then they asked what to do. Balramji asked what to do. They said his son, Ugra Shrava Sut, he is also very brilliant. Maybe we should ask him to come and take this seat and start speaking. Balramji said, okay, bring him. I will bless him and I will ask forgiveness for him. And then Vyasadevji came and they blessed Ugra Shrava Sut. He was already so advanced, but from the blessing of Balramji. Balramji is also Adi Guru, right? Adhyatma Adi Guru is Balramji. So Balramji blessed him. Vyasadevji blessed him. And then Ugra Shrava Sut, he was given the Vyas Gaddi, and then he continued speaking the other Purana Katha. Yeah? So that's how it happened. And then Ugra Shrava Sut continued. And then after the war, when Lord Krishna found out about Balramji killing Sut, So Lord Krishna teases Balram. He said, अगर आपको किसी को मारना ही था तो युद्ध में आ जाते. You said, I'm not going to fight, and you went and killed a Brahman. You could have come and joined us. No. But anyway, so here Sut Goswami, Ugra Sharma Sut, he is recalling and he is being humble. He is humbly saying that I've given this opportunity to speak about the Supreme Personality of God. And then he starts speaking, he glorifies Krishna. And then he says that we lower caste people, just by conversing, just by following, or just by serving a senior Vaishnava, we get uplifted. What to speak of those people who are chanting the holy name in the association of pure devotees? They are so high class. So he's glorifying all those rishis because they were all Brahmanas. Shaunak Rishi, he's the topmost Brahman. He's hearing katha from Ugra Shrava. So he's sitting there. And he's leading 88,000 rishis. So he says, what to speak of senior devotee who are chanting the holy name in the association of devotees. And holy name of who? Bhagwan Anant. That Supreme Lord who is Anant. Right? And he says that Anant is none other than Supreme Lord Krishna. And then he mentions that how from the toenail of that Supreme Lord, when the Ganges came, he says Brahmaji collected that jal on his kamandal. And that jal came on the head of Lord Shiva. Sesham punati atyantam. Sesham, that jal, it also purifies Lord Shiva. Right? It purifies Lord Shiva. So say, Sesham punati atyantam mukundat. Ko naam Bhagavat Padarth. Who else is eligible? Padarth. जैसे हम कहते हैं ना, ये he is not a, let's say he is not a, when you are, if you're giving somebody some position and then you say, oh, he's not that material. He's not fit for that. So that's what Sut Goswami is saying. There is no one else. The Ganges who is coming from the toenail of that Supreme Lord, which Brahmaji collected in his kamandal, which even purifies Lord Shiva, then there is no one else who can be Padarth. No one is qualified enough, fit enough to be called Supreme Lord. So he says that Supreme Lord Krishna. And then he says, I'm going to tell you more pastimes of that Supreme Lord Krishna in the context of Parīkṣit Mahārāja's pastime. Because in the initial verses, he had just spoken about how Parīkṣit Mahārāja, when the snake bird came and snake bird bit him, and then he left his body without any trouble. But now these rishis, they wanted to more. They wanted to know more and more. So remember that line, na uttama shloka vartana, right? Jushtam tad kathamritam. Jushtam. That hunger, Prabhuji Mataji, that hunger has to be there. Very often, if somebody starts speaking, if you have heard thing, then you say, oh, I've heard this. I've heard this pastime, right? So just compare it to you have eaten dal once. Okay, will you stop eating dal for the rest of your life? No, eat again, you relish it. Similarly, these Krishna Katha, these pastimes, even though here Sut Goswami is saying they are Anant, the Supreme Lord whose name is Anant, his pastimes are Anant, right? But he says, I will do my best to describe his pastimes, because he says, as a bird can only fly to the extent as per the strength of its wings. So similarly, he says, as per my realization, right, I will try to describe more pastimes, more Krishna Katha to you. Yeah. So he starts speaking. Now, Parīkṣit becomes angry of the Shamika Rishi for improper reception. So this is what now, this is the next. So this leads to cursing by the Brāhmaṇa boy. So one day what had happened is Parīkṣit Mahārāja, he had once gone to the forest for hunting. Yeah? He had gone for hunting in the forest, and as he was chasing the deers, then he got tired. Shranta, he started feeling tired. Yeah, Shudhitas, Trishto, Bhrisham. He started feeling tired. He started feeling thirsty. He started feeling hungry. And Bhrisham as in great. He started feeling great hunger. And he was looking around if there is any water place, if he can get any drinking water. He could not get any drinking water. As he was looking for the water, he came across an ashram. He came across the ashram and he knocked on the door of the ashram. Nobody answered the door, so he entered the ashram. As he entered the ashram, he saw there one rishi who was sitting in a trance. He was sitting in a trance. Parīkṣit Mahārāja called out, Jalam Dehi, Jalam Dehi, Jalam Dehi. But that rishi did not respond. And now Parīkṣit Mahārāja was thinking that maybe he is being disrespectful to me. Yeah. Maybe he's being disrespectful to me knowingly. He's pretending to be in a trance, but actually he was in a trance. Right? So there are 4 stages. There are 3 stages that we all experience most of the time. One is wakeful, that we are awake. Second is deep sleep. And third is dreaming. Right? So these 3 states we all experience. But that 4th state is he was connected with his soul. He was in a complete trance. In these 3 states, if somebody calls your name, you do hear. I mean, if you are hearing enabled, you can hear. Right? Even if you are sleeping or dreaming or sitting, you can hear. But in that 4th state, you don't hear at all. So he was in that state. Yeah. But Parīkṣit Mahārāja thought that he is being disrespectful to me. Manyamanascha chukopha. He thought that he is being disrespectful to me. Chukopha. He became angry. He became angry, and then he found a dead snake lying there. He found a dead snake lying there. So he picked up that dead snake and put around the Rishi's neck. As he put that snake around Rishi's neck, now Parīkṣit Mahārāja went back. He went back to his palace, and there he started thinking that what have I done? What have I done? Have I committed a mistake? He said, maybe that Rishi, he was genuinely in a trance and I committed a great sin. Now, very often, Prabhuji, Mataji, you hear people tell us the story. Ek din Parīkṣit Mahārāja shikar karne gaye. He went into the basement of his palace, and there were lying a lot of, helmets of the kingdoms that he has defeated. Right? So he decided, today I'm going to wear this helmet. So he picked up that helmet, and that helmet was made of gold because he put that helmet on his head. So in the gold, because gold was the 5th place for Kali to come. So he wore that helmet and he went for hunting. So he was also haunted by the Kali. Sometimes we hear those stories, but please, there is no substance to those stories. So this is, as they say, Hari Ananta Hari Katha. So this is all Lord's arrangement. Yudhishthira Maharaj, when Yudhishthira Maharaj, when they established Khandoprasth, they were called for another gambling game. When they were called for another gambling game, now this time Draupadi tells Yudhishthira Maharaj, so what are you going to do? Make sure you don't put me at stake this time. And she was very sarcastic in her words. And as she says that, now Yudhishthira Maharaj, he did not get agitated, but he tells Draupadi that Draupadi, few things are beyond our control. And he makes a reference to Ramayana. He says, what do you think? Lord Ram did not know that there is no golden deer? There is no deer with the golden skin. Right? So he says, sometimes devotees, they accept things as Krishna's arrangement. Right? That's what today's verse is, right? Even though they are tad bhakta prabhavopiha, that is the 4th line of today's verse. Yeah. That devotees of the Lord, even though they have the strength, but they don't counteract. They accept it as the will of the Lord, as the arrangement of the Lord. So Parīkṣit Mahārāja, he went back and he started thinking, have I committed a great sin? What have I done? Now, meanwhile, Shringi Rishi, who is Shamik Rishi, is the Rishi who is ashram. His son Shringi Rishi, he was playing with his friends. His friends told him what has happened. And that son, Shringi Rishi, he got very upset. And he said that these Kshatriyas, he says, Brāhmaṇai Kshatra Bandhui. He says, as per Brahmanic, because Brahmanas, they were the real rulers in the sense, they are the ones who decide. Right? He says, Brāhmaṇa Shatra Bandhuhi. Yeah, they are Dwarpalo Nirupita, Grehpalo Nirupita. These Kshatriyas, they are Grehpal. Their job is to protect the houses, right? Like security guard. It is their job, Nirupita. And then he says, they are given that job. But he says, Sa Katham Dwa Astha, right? Tad Grihe, Sa Bhandam Bhartum Arhati. He says, those Kshatriyas who are given the responsibility to protect the house, how can they desire Sabhandam to eat in the same pot with the Brahmanas? Dvasthar, they are standing on the door as security guard. How can they enter into the house of Tadgrihe? How they can enter inside the house of the Brahmanas? And Arhati, they desire to eat in the same pot? No. Krishna Gate Bhagavati. Yeah. Krishna Gate Bhagavati Shasti Utpatthagamina. He says, now Lord Krishna has gone back to his abode. But these upstarts, he's speaking about Parīkṣit Maharaj. Just in last chapter, Sud Goswami described how nicely Parīkṣit Maharaj was ruling. Yeah, Sa Samam Gunai. He was same gun as Yudhishthira Maharaj. We heard he was compared to Ikshvaku Maharaj. He was compared to Lord Ram. Right? And this Brahmana boy is saying, who is that? You know, he says upstart. He's behaving like an upstart. He says, now I'm going to Shasmi Paschat Me Balam. I'm going to teach him how to rule. See my strength. He says, Lord Krishna, having gone back to his abode, these Kshatriyas, they are becoming upstart. I have to teach them a lesson. And then he says, Iti langhitam maryada takshaka saptame ehni. Because he has crossed his limits. A Kshatriya, he should have stayed within his limit. Because he is langhitam maryada takshaka saptame ehni. Yeah, that snake bird on 7th day from today. On 7th day from today, that bird will come. Kulangaram. So he is calling Parīkṣit Maharaj, he is Kulangaram. He has brought his dynasty down. Right? By doing what? By taking enmity against my father. He will be killed or he will be bitten by that bird snake 7th day from now. And as that Brahmana boy, he cursed that. Then he came back to his home. He came back to his home and he entered into the ashram. He sees the snake into his father's neck and he starts crying. As Shringi Rishi starts crying, now Shamik Rishi, he wakes up. He comes out of the trance. And then he asks his son what has happened. And by the time he also noticed the snake in his neck. So he takes the dead snake and he puts it away. He puts it away and then he asks his son, why are you crying? And then he said, my dear father, I thought you have died. I thought you are dead. This snake has bitten you. So I was worried. That is why I was crying. And then he narrated the whole actions that he had taken. And as he narrated all those actions, now Shamik Rishi, he starts praying. He starts worrying about his son. That's what in the purport Srila Prabhupada is saying, because Shamik Rishi knew that Parīkṣit Maharaj will not take any counteraction. He says he will not take any counteraction, right? Rather, he starts praying to the Supreme Lord. So he says that Parīkṣit Maharaj, apapeshu swabhritteshu, apapeshu, he hasn't committed any sin. Swabhritteshu, he is like a servant to his praja, to the people of his kingdom. He is serving them so nicely. He hasn't committed any sin. Balena apak buddhina. He says, due to the fault of this balak, of this child, apakva buddhina, whose intelligence is not fully matured. Kritam papam tad bhakta. He has committed a great sin to that supreme person who is a great devotee of the Supreme Lord, who is taking care of his people as his own children. This boy has committed a great sin. He said, Sarvatam, that Lord who is everywhere, who knows everything. And he says, Sarvatam shartum arhati. Oh, my dear Lord, please be merciful to this boy. So Shamik Rishi starts praying for his son. And that's when he recites this verse, today's verse. Yeah. So that's when he's saying that Tiraskrita, Vipralabdha, the devotees of the Lord, even if they are insulted, even if they are cheated, Shapta, Shipta, Hata, they are cursed, they are cheated, right? Even though they are killed, right? Na tat prati kurvanti. They don't take any action. You know, Ambarish Maharaj passed time. Durvasa Rishi, he sent that demon to kill him. But Ambarish Maharaj did not take any action. Ambarish Maharaj, he humbly submitted. As he humbly submitted, now Sudarshan Chakra came. Sudarshan Chakra came and Sudarshan Chakra he killed that demon. Now he starts chasing Durvasa Rishi. He started chasing Durvasa Rishi. Now Durvasa Rishi is running here and there. He went to Lord Shiva, he went to Brahmaji, nobody could save him. Durvasa Rishi is son of Bhagavan Dattatreya. No, he's brother of Bhagavan Dattatreya. Yeah. He is Atri Rishi's son. So he went everywhere. And then he finally go to Lord Narayan, Lord Vishnu. And Lord Vishnu tells him, Aham Bhakta Paradino. He says, I am under the order of my devotees. I can't do anything for you. You have to go back to my devotees. So my Guru Maharaj says, it is the first time somebody got direct audience with Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu refused. He refused him. He says, no, I can't do anything. You have to go back. You know, in Ramayana, there is this very nice. So this Durvasa Rishi pastime is mentioned there. When Bharatji, he was going to the forest to bring Lord Ram back. When he goes past Prayag and he meets Bharadwaj Rishi, and then demigods, Indra and all, they see that Bharatji was so much, his devotion was so strong. He was so much crying, so much repenting all the way. And Indra thought somehow, if he goes and asks Lord Ram, because he was going to the forest to bring Lord Ram back to rule Ayodhya. And he says, if Lord Ram comes back on Bharat's petition, what will happen to Ravan? Who is going to kill Ravan? What will happen to us? Because he was looking for his own interest. So then Indra goes to his Guru Maharaj Brahaspati. And he tells Brahaspati, do something so that Bharat's intelligence gets bewildered. And then Brahaspati ji, he then wants Indra. He says, Maya Pati Sevak San Maya, Kariyata Ulti Parai Surarai. He says, Maya Pati, Lord, Supreme Lord, who is the master, the Maya, who is the master of the Maya. If you are going to do anything wrong against that servant of the Mayapati, it is going to go against you. Prabhu ki chukin Ram ruk jani ab kuchali kari ho hi pachhtani. He said, at that time you did something. You know how they got Mother Saraswati to go and sit on tongue of mantra. He said, tab ki chukin Ram ruk jani. At that time you did, because Lord Ram was agreeable to that. He wanted to go to the forest. But ab kuchali ho hi pachhtani. If you do any bad thing now, you will have to repent afterwards. And then he says, Sun Suresh Raghunath Subhav Nij Aparad Risai na kahu Jo Aparad Bhakt Kar Karai Ram Ros Pavak Sujari. He says, O Suresh, O Indra, please hear the Lord Ram's nature. If somebody commits any sin to Lord Ram, he doesn't care. But if you're going to commit any sin against the devotee of the Lord Ram, then nobody can save. Yeah, and then he says, Lokahu Ved Vidit Itihasa, Yeh Mahima Janahi Durvasa. He says, everybody knows this Itihas, and Durvasa has himself experienced this Mahima of the Supreme Lord. Bharat Saris ko Ram Sanehi, Jag Japu Ram Ram Japte. He says Bharat is so dear to Lord Ram, right? People are worshipping Lord Ram, but Lord Ram is worshipping Bharat. So that's what Supreme Lord told Durvasa, Aham Bhakta Paradhi. So don't try to commit any sin against my devotee. Right? So here, Shamik Rishi knew that Parīkṣit Maharaj will not take any counteraction. So he just simply prayed. He prayed to the Supreme Lord that may this son be forgiven for committing such a great sin. And he concludes by saying, because the devotees of the Lord, he is such a great exalted devotee of the Lord, he is beyond all these material qualities. So we will discuss one more pastime and then we will conclude. So this week, Prabhuji Mataji, we had Akshaya Tritiya. So I thought we will cover that. You can see my screen, yeah? Okay. So Akshaya Tritiya, there are many significance of Akshaya Tritiya, but I will come last. I will say, why do we specifically get involved? So apart from the rush to purchase the gold, there are many other reasons why this day is very significant. Right? A lot of people, they say Akshaya Tritiya, let's buy some gold, buy some car, buy some assets, but whatnot. People go and do that. They say it's very auspicious on it. So some of the significance, as you can see in the picture also, Lord Parshuram appeared on this day. Ganges descended to the earth on this day. This day also marks the beginning of Treta Yuga. Yeah? Sudama visited Krishna in Dwarka. The Pandavas received Akshay Patra. Akshay means जिसका क्षय नहीं होता है. क्षय का मतलब क्या होता है इंग्लिश में, क्या बोलते हैं? Destruction, yeah. Never, yeah. So it's permanent. So they got Akshay Patra, you know that pastime. Once again, Durvasa Rishi was involved. He went there with his disciples and he wanted them to be fed. Then Vyasadev started composing Mahārāja on this day. You can see Vyasadev ji and Ganesh ji sitting there. Adi Shankaracharya composed Kanakadhara Stotram in this day. Kuber received the wealth and position as custodian of wealth, and goddess Annapurna Devi appeared on this day. So these are all the reasons for this significance. But we in Brahma Madhav Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya Prabhuji Mataji, why do we celebrate? As you can see, we have discussed this slide in the past. So this is the parampara that we belong to. You can see number 1 is Krishna and 32 is Srila Abhay Charan Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Yeah. So you look at 20, that's where Shripad Madhavendra Puri, yeah, roughly about 700 years ago, you can say. So Shripad Madhavendra Puri, as you know, he is the Dada Guru of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nityanand Prabhu was also a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. Pundarik Vidyanidhi was also a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. Yeah. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took initiation from Ishwar Guru. Yeah. Advaita Acharya is also a disciple of Madhavendra. We see that. Yeah. So what had happened, Prabhuji Mataji, once Shripad Madhavendra Puri, he was doing parikrama of Govardhan Parvat, and there in Govinda Kund, he took a bath in the Govinda Kund. When you go next time, please take darshan of Govinda Kund. It's very, very, very auspicious.
Is it near the Govardhan?
Probably around Govardhan. When you do parikrama, you can ask him. So he took a bath and he came out and he was resting. He was resting under the tree. As he was resting under the tree, in his dream, he gets direct audience with Gopal. Lord Krishna appears in his dream, and Lord Krishna tells him that I am buried around this. He tells him a place, and I am feeling very heat, and for a long time I am here. Please take me out. In the dream, he sees that. And Madhavendra Puri, when he wakes up, he starts thinking. And then he finds that place that Krishna had showed him in the dream. He calls the local people. They go and they dig that place. And there he found a very beautiful vigraha of Gopal or Shri Krishna. He took that out and he established on the top of the Govardhan. He established it there. This is same Gopalji who is in Nath Dwar. Yeah, same. So later on he got transported there. And he was hidden there because of the Mohammedan rulers at the time. The Pujari had hidden there. And he was moved from Govardhan to Nath Dwar again because there was another Muslim ruler. So they were taking him there. But then as the Lord reached there, then he did not move. And he's in Nath Dwar, which is in Rajasthan. So he's there. Nathaji, they also call him. So Madhavendra Puri got the deities out and he established him there. And then once again, the deities came into his dream and they told him that I'm feeling very heat. I'm feeling very heat. You please go and get some sandal pulp for me and put sandal pulp on my body. And where to get sandal pulp from? From Malaya Parvat, which is in Odisha. near Jagannath Puri. And then Madhavendra Puri next day, he called out his disciples and those people who were there. He told them, I'm going to go and get, sandalwood pulp for the Supreme Lord, and you please take care of them. As he starts going, he starts up, he goes to the north. He goes to the north and he reaches Shantipur. And there he says he meets Advaitacharya. So he initiated him there. After initiating him there, he starts going towards the south. And he goes towards the south, he comes to a place called Remuna. Remuna is in Odisha. It is about 250 kilometers from Jagannath Puri. So he goes there, Madhavendra Puri, he goes there, and there he visits a temple of Sri Gopinath. And there the Vigraha is very beautiful of Sri Gopinath. He visits the temple, and there the pujaris had prepared kheer. They had prepared kheer and they were preparing to offer it to the Supreme Lord. As they were offering to the Supreme Lord, Madhavendra Puri saw that and he felt, oh, this kheer looks so beautiful. Right? Somehow he felt that this is so great, and he was thinking, can I also make similar kheer for my Gopalji and offer it to him? And then he was thinking, maybe I taste it, how this is made, and then I can make, for my Gopalji. As he was thinking like that, but then suddenly he realized this is still bhoga. It hasn't been offered to the Lord as yet. And then he started feeling bad about himself. And as he feeling bad about himself, he straight away got off and he went out and he sat in a marketplace. In the night time, he said, I'm going to stay here and tomorrow I will leave. He sat in a marketplace. Now the Gopinath deity is there. He comes into the dream of the pujari who were serving the kheer, who offered the kheer. He comes into the dream of the pujari and he tells, oh pujari, there were 13 pots. You have only taken away 12 pots. There is one more pot still there on the altar behind my dhoti. You go and take this pot and give it to Madhavendra. Now pujari gets up and he says, who is this? What was this dream about? He could not believe. He gets up and he goes there and he finds the pot behind Gopinath's dhoti. He picks up that pot and he goes to the marketplace. And he starts calling Madhavendra Puri, Madhavendra Puri. Who is Madhavendra Puri? And then Madhavendra Puri, gets up and he says, yes, I am Madhavendra Puri. Prabhu, what mistake have I done? He says, no, you are so fortunate. The Supreme Lord has stolen kheer for you. And he has sent this for you. Take this pot. And Madhavendra Puri takes that pot and then he says, oh, my Lord is so merciful. And then he says, I'm going to partake this like one bite a day, something. And he eats all the kheer and he also eats the pot. He breaks the pot. It was a mud pot. He doesn't leave that. He says, this is also Krishna Prasad. But you don't try that. You don't try that because it was the piety of Madhavendra. So many devotees, they go to Radha Kund, Sham Kund, and they just drink the jal from there and they get sick. Right? Once devotees got so inspired to drink cow urine and they went and drank cow urine, immediately after collecting it, they fell sick very badly. Right? So we don't imitate. That's the point we're saying. We don't imitate Prabhuji Maharaj. We follow in the footsteps, but we don't imitate. Right? Because our purity is not that. We can't do that. Right? So Madhavendra Puri ate all of it and then he went and he collected the chandan. He collected the chandan and then after he got the kheer, he straight away left the place. He said, tomorrow people will find out and then I should leave Remuna. He left Remuna because he did not want to be glorified. He thought people will come and start saying good things about me. That is why it is said that Manala Pratishta Shukre Ravishta. If you are hankering for man and pratishtha, if you are hankering for glorification, it is compared by Acharya Shukre Ravishta. It is the stool of a pig. It is compared, if you are hankering for glorification, this is what it is compared to. A pig who eats other stool, it is compared to pig's stool, stool. That bad. So we should be very alert all the time if you hankering for that. So Madhavendra Puri left that place. He left that place, he reached Jagannath Puri, but his glories had already reached before he reached Jagannath Puri. People started paying obeisances to him on the street. And Madhavendra Puri did not know what to do. But then he thought, I have come here for a mission. So he requested those devotees, please help me collect some chandan. And then he collected the chandan, and then he said, please come with me, like I have to take it back. And he was in a ripe old age, Prabhuji Mataji, but he still took that journey to please his Supreme Lord. And as he was coming back, the devotees there, they gave him two servants to carry those sandalwood with him. As he was coming back, he again visited the same temple in Remuna. By now, the Gopinath had become Kheer Chor Gopinath. So he's called Kheer Chor Gopinath. Yes. Yeah, so by now he had become Kheer Chor Gopinath. And now Madhavendra Puri comes there, and Madhavendra Puri, as he is resting there, he again gets a dream. And this time in the dream, the Gopal deity come into his dream. Gopal deity from Govardhan Hill. Gopal deity come into his dream, and then he says, Madhavendra Puri, the sandalwood that you have brought, please apply it on Gopinath. Right? If he feels coolness, I will also feel coolness. He is not different from me. And then Madhavendra Puri tells the pujaris over there and all the servants who are with him, they say, okay, let's get the pulp ready. So pulp mixed with kapoor. What is kapoor called in English? Camphor. So they mix that. So they mix that, and then they apply on the body of Kheer Chor Gopinath. Right? So this day that this activity also started. So in all the ISKCON temples, so this day we apply. So these are our Shri Shri Radha Parthasarathi deities in Delhi. On 3rd of May, so they applied chandan on Parthasarathi Bhagavan. The whole body, they applied chandan pulp. So for 21 days, this will continue. Right? They will be applying sandalwood pulp. So these are Radha Parthasarathi Bhagavan that you see here. Then Sita Ram Lakshman, same, there. So this is 3rd of May. And on Hanuman also, don't forget Hanuman. You can see the whole body. Yeah. And then these are our Gornitai. So they apply on that. And this is the full altar. Shri Shri Radha Parthasarathi Bhagavan, Shri Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, and Shri Shri Gornitai. So this is the significance of Akshaya Tritiya, and it is also called Chandan Yatra. Yeah. So we will stop here now, Prabhuji Mataji. Yeah. Any questions or comments? Otherwise, we'll stop and.
What is the verse of today? Please.
Brahman boy. Okay, please repeat. Tiraskrita vipralabdha Shapta